They will ask, so who is in charge of this? Are you the only one in the organization? Let's say your management is in position. Let's say the people in the management. Let's say your CEO. Do you know why they ask for all of these things? They want to know how structured you are. Otherwise, we are trying our money into something, we are wasting our money. So you must learn how to build a system. In your family must have a system. Yes, your family must have a system. It's important. There is no magic. Oh, this is what we do with this system that gives investors confidence to put money in your organization.
Hi, good evening. Good evening. How was our day? Trying to see how clear. I hope we can hear me well. Let's confirm we can hear. Instagram, Facebook. Please confirm you can hear me well. Easily accessible. So him results. Because people will how student.
Very slow.
I think it's better. It's slow now.
Is it max? Or can you?
It's good now.
It's okay now. You're sure.
Once it's ready,
Okay. Okay. So you can try now. Okay. So it's fluctuating. It's
do
bad
we have
again. It's bad again.
My phone is not. Who is that?
we can reduce.
We will see you do this. Check our videos.
5G is using that.
Sorry, I'm trying to get the network to be good. The mass is good here. Why is it not good here? Somebody have to everybody
The network is.
Let me use connect it back to this current. Okay. Otherwise, I wanted to test. No, that's the one you will use. You have to remove your camera. That's his mouth. Who is that?
GK asked him to bring the live recoveries.
When are they come early? No. Do things your way.
Oh, I'm also recording the video so that you can have it later. Network is doing.
That has nothing to do with network. That has everything to do with. Now you realize that even if rain falls once in 4 or 5 days, your plants are still doing well. Why? We expect the soil to hold water. So as long as the soil can hold water, the plants are fine. Meaning, this plant is dependent on the soil to hold water. That is why we say we have seasonal planting in Nigeria, because when rainy season is over, the water that the plant was able to hold after a while will be exhausted, or that the soil was able to hold after a while gets exhausted. And once that water is exhausted, it can no longer support life. And as long as it cannot support life, we will now say, that season is over. The final reason or function of soil is what we call aeration. Soil helps to give aeration to the roots of the plant. That is why if you visit a farmer, a traditional farmer that uses soil, they will not allow you kill earthworm on their farm. Reason, earthworms live inside the soil. They burrow inside the soil and create air spaces inside the soil, which is beneficial to the roots of the plant. So I recap. Soil has three basic functions. One is to anchor, one is to retain water, three is for aeration. Interpretation. It simply means that my soil does not perform any other function outside these three. Now, somebody is thinking, how do we know this is true? What is the proof that this is true? Now, remember, when we were in primary school, we were taught that there are three types of soil. We were taught that there is sandy soil, there is clay soil, and there is loamy soil. Now, you were also taught that the best kind of soil for planting is loamy soil. So the question then is, why? Now, if we take sandy soil and try to compare it based on these characteristics, or analyze based on these characteristics, you will realize that sandy soil cannot give proper anchorage to the roots. Sandy soil cannot really retain water, but sandy soil will allow air to pass. So, out of the three expected functions of soil, it can only perform one. Hence, it is not ideal for growing. Next is clay soil. Clay soil will give anchorage. Clay soil will hold water, but clay soil will not allow air to pass. So, out of the three expected functions, it can perform 2 out of 3. Finally, we now have what is called loamy soil that can anchor, hold water, and finally allow for aeration. Hence, we use loamy soil for growing. So when we say soilless farming, we are asking what medium can perform these three functions, but it is not soil. It's that simple. Hope that makes sense. Now, somebody will be thinking that, I thought soil was supposed to provide nutrients. No. Soil in itself does not provide nutrients. How can we prove that? So I will explain this way. Imagine I go to a desert. Deserts are places where nothing can grow. If I go to a desert and I take a sieve full of sand and I bring it to my house and I test the soil for nutrients, you will agree with me that I will not see any nutrient in that soil. If I leave that soil on top of my center table in the house for 1 year and I come back to test it, will there be any nutrients? The answer is still no, because where I kept it, there is nothing in the external environment that would influence nutrients coming in. So if I leave that soil there for 10 years, nothing will change. It will still not have nutrients. But if I take maybe some dead leaves, I throw it on top of the soil, every morning I come to water, every morning I come to water, you will agree with me that after some time, I am going to see some nutrients in the soil. But the soil did not generate the nutrient itself. Instead, the nutrient is a function of what is happening in the external environment. And as that plant began to decay, what will simply happen is part of the nutrient will seep into the water in that place. And that water that is retained by the soil now becomes the nutrient you meet in the soil. Hope that makes sense. Same for minerals. It's about the wedging of stones and rocks around the soil that determines the presence or absence of nutrients. Hope that makes sense. So, that is the basics for soilless farming. What's that mean? Any question?
No question yet.
No question. Now, let's now go into soilless farming proper. Haven't tried to lay a base or the basics or the background. Now, in soilless farming, remember that soil, according to matter, they say matter has three states: solid, liquid, gas. In matter, soil is solid. Now, in soilless farming, I can choose to replace solid with solid, meaning I can remove soil that is solid and replace soil with another solid that is not soil. That is one. I can decide to remove solid and replace with water. That is two. Or I can decide to remove solid and replace with air. That is three. So in soilless farming, I have three options. I can replace solid with solid, solid with water, solid with air. If I replace solid with air, we say aeroponics. If I replace solid with water or with another solid, I say hydroponics. Why hydro? Because I will supply the nutrients with water. Hope that makes sense. But in aeroponics, I will supply the nutrients in form of air. Now, for today's class, I want to teach or explain how we can how we can grow our plants using water. So, I will start with a simple one first. In my front here is a bowl. This is a simple small bowl. Now remember what we said. I can grow the function of soil is three things: anchor, retention, water retention, and finally we said aeration. So I want to see how I can use this bowl to grow something. Now, if I take water and put in the bowl is holding the water. The bowl is serving the function of water retention already. The only issue is there is nothing to act as anchorage. I hope that's making sense. There is nothing acting as anchorage, but I have something already acting as water retention. Now, if I can get anything flat, please help me with the carton. So, if I can get anything flat like this carton, this is just an ordinary carton, it's nothing special. So, let me see, I want to do a measurement. I don't want to cut it in a way that I regret how I cut it. So, I won't be using the carton again. So if I get a carton like this and I place it over, now let's imagine I decided to go this way and cover everything fully. Now the problem is there is no way for air to come in and out of this container, which means I need to find a way to introduce air because this water needs to be aerated. But if I don't want to go through that stress, I can decide to leave some spaces by the side. I don't know if it's visible in the video. I can decide to leave spaces by the side. Because of this space I am leaving by the side, remember the container is acting the function of water retention. The space by the side is acting as aeration. I want to use this as my anchor. But the issue is I cannot place plant on top of this like this. So I can simply decide to create a little hole on this, as an example, create a little hole, get my seedling, that's plant that has already come out from the nursery, put it through this hole so that the root of the plant can touch the water. Once I do that, this paper is acting as an anchor, which means with this system, I have replaced soil. How? This is acting as water retention. The space is acting as aeration. My paper is acting as anchor. Now, I know somebody is thinking, can the paper carry the weight? No. So, which means once the weight of what I am growing becomes too heavy, this paper will fold in. Then my plant will drown. I hope that makes sense. So, I will take to the next level. I'm taking it step by step. I am trying to use things that we know very well naturally. You can bring the plant. So, these are things that we know. Everybody knows this. This is, got more buckets. Yes, we forgot before. This one has refused to leave. This one is different mop bucket. We all know regular mop buckets. See that? I'm hoping nobody will say maybe there is one spiritual thing. This is a regular mop bucket. So the mop bucket is going to act as my anchor. As my water retention. This is where we retain the water. This comes originally on its own by default with a cover. This is going to be where I will anchor my plants. This site that is empty allows for natural water aeration, meaning mop bucket alone as a standalone has replaced soil. I hope that is making sense. You can see it's that simple. We are going to plant. I will put my plant here, pour water here. That is all. All I need to just introduce is nutrient. With nutrients, my plant continues to grow. This allows for proper aeration. This acts as anchorage. This acts as water retention. And you are done with your home farming. Meaning, you can simply go to where you buy your mop bucket. I don't know how much they sell mop bucket now, but I'm sure it's not up to 10,000 naira. Buy as many mop buckets as you can. And you are growing your plants. You say, no, mop bucket is too hard for me. You can get a bigger bowl. No, we started with a small bowl. Get a bigger bowl, pour water, the same principle. Get styrofoam. Styrofoam is that thing that does shuku when you buy new electronics. So, now remember what I said. If I put the styrofoam to cover my container totally, there is no space for aeration. I need to introduce a way to aerate. But if I don't want to do that, I just need to cut my styrofoam in a way that there must be spaces available for air exchange. 2, now you notice that this bowl is quite big. Because of this bigness of this bowl, even if I leave space, there will be not enough aeration. The space available is not enough for the air exchange to happen. Then I will need something we refer to as air stones. This is an air stone. Some of us have seen air stones before. When you check aquarium, you see air stones in aquarium. So when you get air stones, these are things you can buy online. Thanks to Pastor Debo BIC Farms, he gave me this for free for the class. So this is air pump. This is air stone. This is an air tube. So because it is free, I don't want to misuse it. So I would have to go back to always beg. Let me just drop it, I'll take from this. So I want to cut to use. So now air pumps comes in various forms. This one has 2 outlets. Some have more than 2 outlets, some have only 1. So that you don't say, oh, when you are going to buy it must have 2 outlets. So all I'm simply doing is you fix this to your tube. That's the outlet. Fix to So when it has more than an outlet, it means that you can connect more than an air stone. So I get my stone. Fix it. I'm saying fix it, but the thing is not following what I'm saying. Okay. That's this thing done. Because I know when I posted the video online, a lot of people were asking, why are you boiling water with the root of the plants? And I'm like, hey, yeah. So, again, you only need air stone when the container you are using for growing is very deep, or when the container you are using is totally closed up. So this is just regular blocking. So you can see, that was the boiling effect that we saw in the video. So it is just the air stone providing air. It doesn't shock. So there is no fear of, if I put my hand inside, it will shock me. Then, the bigger the bowl, the more the bubbles. So these bubbles represent air. The way you prove that is, those days there are these bubble stuff we used to play with when you put foam. Is it foam, a biomo or something? Then you now blow it. It's just air. So if I need it more, I can increase it to be more. You can see the bubbles becomes faster. So the bigger the container, how do you know the bubbles you are getting is enough? Your air stone by default is heavy. It will go to the bottom of your container. But the bubbles must get to the top of the container. If it is not getting to the top of the container, your aeration is not working. So let's try it with a bigger container. So you can see in a bigger container, it is still more than enough. I don't know if it's showing on Instagram.
So we have to
Is it showing? On Instagram.
yes, sure.
So unplug. Somebody can be unplug.
Oh, yeah.
At this point, it's practical. We can just remove. So people cannot remove that. Okay, can we see it now? So this is how the air stone works. It just brings in bubbles, nothing special. It's just for bubbles. So as long as this is happening, you are fine. And if you are using this to grow, you don't need to do air stone 24 hours. 1 hour every 4, 5, 6 hours is fine. It's just to bring in air into the container. I hope that is fine. So for those that are interested, find a way to come here as Winchi. I'll leave it to keep boiling. So that we can do the first planting. This will just stay like that, so you notice that there is nothing special. So we are going to do our first planting together using mop buckets. I want to have it pinned totally. Mop. After we don't finish it. Something like you too. That we finish to sow. To plant, we get our water in. Again, this is ordinary water. Some people are very spiritual. They're like, we don't know what you pour inside. Now, what I want us to notice is, let me get more water. What I want you to notice is, in my pouring the water got to the base of my cover. It must get to the base of this cover because this is where the roots of the plant will come out from. So if it does not get to the roots of this, and if it doesn't get to this base, what I mean is, let's say my water is stopping here, but my plant is stopping here. The plant will die because it's not getting water. So I must ensure that I fill to the point where it can get water. So we are going to take one plant first to start with. Let's do tomatoes. So I'll just take one from their nursery. If they ask who stole it, we'll say Zemani. So this is nursery. So you can see it with the beautiful roots. Now, because it is hydroponics of pure water, I want to rinse out. So whether you use whatever you like, use as your medium. I want to rinse every particle on the root first, such that I can transplant. Now you are going to realize, if I leave this plant like this, it's going to fall, right? So there are different things we can use. We will be using clay pebbles. I know some people like these white beautiful stones. You can use your white beautiful stones to hold. However, remember that plants cannot push those stones easily. So as your plant is growing, help it move. So because this, what is it called? I didn't get bigger stones. There are bigger air stones that will not pour out easily like this. That is all. I'm done planting. This is hydroponics. You can see how easy it is. I am done planting like that. All I need to do is bring nutrients inside here. Bring nutrients inside here. As long as I am bringing nutrients, the plant will continue to grow. As long as I bring nutrients, plant continues to grow. So we have planted tomatoes. Let me drop this. Because somebody is going to say, Farmer Sam, you don't understand. I saw what you did, but I don't have access to that. Let's try another second method. Remember the buckets? Still our buckets. Now remember that there, what I used as anchorage was the, I don't know what they call that thing in English, the tin of the tin. Here I want to use a sieve. Still the same principle. I want to use a sieve. The same principle, because you still realize that what's the word I'm looking for now? The water is still getting to where the roots of the plant will be. Now, if I want my sieve to sit properly without moving, I can make it pass. Okay, these guys, are they passing? I need to pass now. So, to balance so that one side does not have too much and the other side has nothing. Now I'm realizing I didn't cut it long enough. Why am I doing this? I want to ensure that when the bubbles are formed, the whole side of the plant gets enough. So here again I can transplant. Here again I can transplant. Now if you look at this closely, you will notice something already. The bubbles to the, how do I put this now? Let me stand like
Somebody is asking a question on YouTube.
Okay.
Say, could you please share the contact of input suppliers with us?
Yes, I will share their contacts. It's not something I mean. I already called their name, BIC Farms.
Sir, there's a question on Instagram. Is that like pebbles?
Yes, that's pebbles, clay pebbles. Yes, that's clay pebbles. So you will notice in this bucket, to the right has more bubbles than to the left. So if I put in two vegetables, one to the right, one to the left, by default, the one to the right will do better. Because the one to the right gets more aeration than the one to the left. It's that simple. Now, why is it that I am putting air stone in this case and not in that one? You will notice that the sieve nearly covered the whole bucket. And this is deep. The size of the bucket, this is deep. So we call this deep water culture because it is deep. And because of that, we are not going to have enough aeration available for the plant, for the water to exchange air easily. So because of that, I need to help the plant get air by providing the air by myself. So now I have turned it to low. Notice the bubbles have reduced drastically. So if I need to get this to give me results, it needs to be on high all through. So again, we will take another plant. Maybe let's try one pepper and one tomatoes this time.
Someone has a question. What nutrient do we need to keep putting inside the water?
So I'm still going to come to the nutrients.
Somebody is asking, can you use granite limestone as anchor?
Yes, you can, but like I said, remember that those things are heavy. So as your plant is growing, help it move by shifting those granite and all for anchorage. So I will put one to this side. Again, I'm still going to use my pebbles. I'm still going to use my pebbles. One of the advantages of this is it means that you are not dependent on season to grow. Year round you can grow. So this is the second one. Now because I want them to stand properly, or I'm going to stand it, don't worry, the plant is not dying. I'm just going to get it to stand properly. Make it to stand properly. I'm adding more pebbles because I don't want to be disturbing it every now and then. You know, the camera went off. So, with that, you are done planting.
How about using charcoal as anchor?
Good. Now, why don't we use charcoal as anchor? Charcoal is it absorbent? There's an English chemistry word they call it. Now, what that means is charcoal by default takes in any neutrally charged thing around it. So, if you use charcoal as anchor, what charcoal will do is any nutrient you put in the water, charcoal will take it first. Until the charcoal is saturated, it will not release the nutrients. That is why, for those people that don't know, if you are cooking any food and you mistakenly put too much salt, they tell you go and throw charcoal in the food. Charcoal will absorb everything. So if you use charcoal as anchor, you will realize that you are applying nutrients, but your plants are suffering.
So another question here say, can we plant tomato without the nursery? If no, how do we go about the nursery?
Can you plant tomatoes without a nursery? No, you need to do nursery. Is how do you do your nursery? You can use tissue paper for nursery. It will grow. There are many things you can use for nursery. Nursery is basically creating a dark environment for the plant to break dormancy. That is why you are burying it inside soil or inside cocoa peat or whatever you are using. It's just a dark environment that is moist to raise your nursery. So we have set up 2 farms. One we use mop buckets, something that you have at home. This other one we use regular bucket with sieve. We are going to keep, that's why I have to ensure I got my own bucket, so nobody will come and tell me to return our bucket. So that nobody will say, hey. So we are going to monitor these things and I will keep giving you updates. What's the issue? What's not showing?
Facebook.
They are seeing now. Which one can they see?
I think it's Facebook. Facebook fluctuates.
Can they see now?
No, it doesn't.
But YouTube is still on.
You see on Instagram, but Facebook, no. It's trying to record. It's trying to record.
Come back now.
Is it back now? This is all.
But YouTube and Instagram are on.
Sorry, we're trying to get the folks from Facebook. If it doesn't work, sorry, we have any neutrally charged thing around you. Use charcoal as anchor. What charcoal will be trying to put in the water? I don't know what to do with Facebook people. Has it picked up? Yeah. Okay. So, sorry about that. It's network, and network is network. This is done. We have set up 2 sets of farms. 2 sets. Now, we can also decide we don't want to use this. So, I hope there are no questions at this level because the more we go, the more complicated.
Somebody's asking, can we use normal stones?
I think I've answered that.
Yes, answer that.
You can use normal stones, but like I said, if you are going to use a normal stone, remember that the advantage of clay pebbles is they are not heavy, they are super light. So the plant, when it is growing, it can move it on its own. But when you are using anything that is heavy, the plant does not have power to push it. That becomes an issue, which is what we are trying to avoid. So we planted 2.
Concerning the aeration part, does direct sunlight affect the nutrient water?
No.
This happens most time. With water tanks that has lost their covers during growth.
No, sir, this is the issue. If you have good question, the person's question is, if I have nutrients inside tank and the cover is lost, would there be an impact? Yes, if you don't use that nutrient on time. Because remember that the tank is about minimum 500 liters. Yours could be 1,000, 2,000 liters. And aeration is needed. Where there is no aeration, the place now becomes, what's the word, when there is no aeration? They call that thing aerobic. It becomes anaerobic. See this one. And once it is anaerobic, what happens is fermentation, which means diseases will start brooding in the water, except you are using the water quickly. So if you don't want that to happen, you aerate. Hope that answers the question. Okay.
There's another question. I said earlier you mentioned that limestone can be used as anchorage. Won't it affect the pH of the soil due to its calcium content?
Limestone, or I said stone.
Not limestone.
I said gravel, like gravel, not lime. Gravel. Those white stones. That you would have seen some people that when they are in their flower pots, they have white stones. They've been washed. If you buy the one, if you buy it and it has not been washed, wash it before usage.
Will the clay pebbles be removed as the plant grows bigger?
No, the plant can push clay pebbles on their own. Clay pebbles don't have power. So as long as it is clay pebbles, plants will push it and grow normally.
When plants take up nutrients, won't the pH change? Is there a way to balance the pH?
Good. Now you realize that the system that we are using, the water level is small. So before the pH will change, the water has finished. So you will need to replace the water before even the pH will change to affect the plants. If it were allowed, that's why remember I said this when I started, I said, I am not teaching you to grow commercially. This is home use, meaning that is why I am using small buckets. Remember that the rate at which this small bucket will lose water is not only dependent on the eating of the plant, evaporation will also happen. So before the nutrient will change pH totally, Baba, water has finished too. You need to add water. And when we say add water, remember that I am not adding water based on the water finishing. I am adding water based on the roots of the plant can no longer reach the water. So because I am always bringing in the water, I am continually diluting the water to bring in nutrients. Another question.
Can I use foam cut into size as anchorage?
You can use foam. The issue with foam is when it sucks water, it will push onto its own side on its own. But if you can get Dunlop slippers, I'm sure you probably have a neighbor that has Dunlop slippers. Go and greet them when you are leaving, let the slippers follow you. Then cut it into small pieces and use it. It will work perfectly.
Another question from people to say, when algae forms on the bucket, will it affect the plant?
Algae should not form if there is aeration. Algae formation means there is no air. Because remember that algae are anaerobic animals, plants, not aerobic. So once you see algae, it is a pointer that you don't have enough air. So clean off the algae and increase air. Any other question? We good? Okay, finally. So I was going to form a third type of system. I don't think I have any buckets again. Okay, let's use this. Some of us have this kind of PVC pipes around our houses that your friends and neighbors and all are using. They come in different names. Water gutter, that gutter, what gutter. Now, we use it for planting. Now, normally, when you buy this PVC, it comes like this, no holes. You get a drilling machine. If you don't have drilling machine, go and buy tin tomatoes. Take out the tin tomato, the tomato in the tin, cut the head of the tin, use something like iron to hold it so that you can put fire. With the fire, with the hotness of the tin, you can bore holes. Now, what determines the distance between one hole and the next hole is how much space does my plant require to grow. The more space that the plant requires to grow, the more space I leave between one hole and the next hole. We built this for lettuce because they don't need so much distance. This horizontally. So this is just for lettuce. Now, next, I want to use what is called net cups. This is 2-inch. Net cups comes in various sizes. If you are looking for where to buy, Google BIC Farms. BIC, like Big Biro. BIC Farms concept, you will get net cups. I want to use this net cup to anchor into this hole so that I can put my plant inside here. This acts as an anchor. Now, remember, we said soil has 3 functions. This container in itself is going to act as water retention. We block both ends. I can't walk to the end, but just believe we blocked both ends. Okay. Because some doubting Thomas will say it's a lie. We blocked both ends. But notice that we did not call this is styrofoam with normal gum. But notice we did not block it fully because we still want air to come in. So we did not block it fully so that air can come in. Okay. Now, both sides are blocked. This acts as an anchor. The sides that are open act as aeration. Because this is super thin, before this thing would say it is lacking oxygen, the water is exhausted. In this pipe, we can grow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. So this pipe can give you 26 vegetables. Imagine how many of these you can put in your house. You say you don't have a space, but you have balcony. You can use rope to tie this to your balcony and be growing vegetables from your balcony. You can even use rope to tie it in a way that you hang it, such that you just hang it to a level that is just for your neighbor's head not to hit it. And you are fine. So, this is where we are not going to take our plants. I don't want to take out more plants. But this is where we take our plants and put. I can decide to still use clay pebbles, or there is something we call neoprene foam. So this is an example. This is lettuce. You can see the root, how white it is. So I took this out of one of the systems. That's a neoprene foam holding this in. Such that if I want to harvest, I just pull out, take out my plant, bring in a new plant, go and eat this. I hope that makes sense. Now, somebody is probably thinking, what if in my own case, I don't even have nursery, but there is a person's house I went to and I saw ugu, and I really want to eat the ugu, so I took this as an example of a plant. Whichever plant you want to grow and you don't have time to do nursery, get the plant. This one I pulled it out by force. Now, every plant has what you call a node. Anywhere you see a leaf coming out like this is a node. So, here we can count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now, because there are 12 leaves, automatically there are 12 nodes. Now, if I want to plant, all I need to do is, I can go and look for, now, the space between one node and the other node is called internode. So you hear internodal space. So even if you didn't study Greek, start pretending like you're a consultant. Just go there and say, I've talked about, when you look at the internodal, you'll be like, this guy knows what he's saying. It's only you that know you don't know. So I want to take out these. I've cut 1, 2, 3, 4 nodes. Now the reason I am not able to use these two alone is the space between these two nodes is too small. I need a bit of space. So I want to use these top two and these lower two. So notice when I want to cut the lower leaves, I am not cutting very close to the node, not to injure the nodes. I cut a bit far from the node, a bit far from the nodes. I will go back to the bottom and cut in a slanted form. Use a sharp scissors. A slanted form. Why am I cutting in a slanted form? I want to increase the surface area. To increase the surface area. Now, if I take this and I plant, if I take this like this and I plant, these two lower nodes, remember, when I put it anywhere like that, where they are going to be faced is dark. And remember what I said earlier, for a thing to break dormancy and begin to bring out roots, it needs darkness. So, once this thing enters this dark place, it is not getting light. The information that node is getting is produce roots. This top that is getting light, the information that it is getting is produce leaves. So, what will simply happen is, from this top, a new shoot will come out. It's not this leaf that will continue. A new shoot will come out, a new shoot will come out, that becomes a new plant. From this bottom, new roots will start. Does that make sense? We call this vine cutting or vine multiplication method. So with this, I can also start a new plant. Whether it is tomatoes, ugu, pepper, whatever the plant, it will grow. But take note, when you are getting the plant you are going to use, make sure that the plant stem is matured. Not just a stem. When you touch a stem that it is very soft and it looks like it wants to break, it won't survive. Also, don't go for a stem that is woody. That when you are trying to cut, you can see that it is already old. The reason is that stem has lost its multiplication ability. It won't grow. Any question?
There are questions here. The first one says, for one that doesn't have the hair stones, how often should we change the water?
No, remember that the air stone is just to hold the plant. You can improvise on how to hold the plant. Take for instance, if you want, you can cut a hole in your sieve and let the plant pass as a baby. It will still grow. It's just to improvise. Just figure out what would work.
Then the second question says, what would the spacing from tomatoes be?
It depends on the kind of tomato you are growing. So, if you are growing indeterminate tomatoes, you need at least half a meter minimum. That's 0.5 meter to 0.75 meter, so that they have enough space. If it is habanero pepper, you need about a meter spacing. You know that one?
How about palm kernel shell as anchor?
So palm kernel shell is beautiful. The issue with palm kernel shell over time is they take in water and become soggy. Two, because of their sharp edges, they can injure the plant when the plant tries to expand. So if you are able to navigate them not injuring your plant, they are beautiful.
Can I grow plants like garlic to maturity in a purely hydroponic system?
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. But if you are doing garlic, remember that garlic, what's the name? Garlic, turmeric, all these things are tuber crops. The water has to be continually aerated. Once you stop aerating, the tuber will drown, the plant will still be alive.
Do tomato suckers or stem grow?
Yes. Yes. In short, if you check one of the fastest way to grow tomatoes is through tomato suckers. Any other question? No question. So, which other thing? Okay, nutrients. Nutrients.
Because say, how long will it take to grow out?
To grow what out?
I said the tomato.
It will still take to. Let me ask the person a question. Maybe the person did join from the beginning. If I am cooking with firewood and I'm cooking with electric gas, how long will it take to done? If the heat is the same, it will done at the same time. Okay. So nutrients.
Stems are different from suckers, right?
Yes, stems are different. A sucker is the one that came out from the node that is already growing. Stem is the one that you cut the stem by yourself and cut. I don't know how to explain that in English. What's the what? What's this? Ask your question.
No, she's talking to everybody.
Okay, nutrients. Now remember what I said. Nutrient is not what the soil provides. You can provide your nutrients. And the good news is there are lots of ways to get nutrients. You can put it down. I can sit down. So that you can put it down. No stress. There are many ways to get nutrients. The easiest way, if you are growing ordinary leafy vegetables, the easiest way to get nutrients for your vegetables is your urine. The easiest way to get nutrients for your leafy vegetables. Now remember that tomatoes is not leafy. Tomatoes is fruit. But if it is for your leaf-based vegetable, your urine is perfect. Which urine? Your early morning urine. If you take 1 liter of your early morning, I don't know how you piece 1 liter, but if you can be gathering your urine to 1 liter, 1 liter of early morning urine is equivalent, you dilute it inside 50 liters of water. It is enough to grow your leafy vegetables. Why? Because remember that your urine is urea, ammonia. And what leafy vegetables require to grow is ammonia, urea. So you can be in the house, you want to grow lettuce, for sure, but that don't require any seed or fruit. Just go there and do inside your water. Your nutrient is done. There is a name for that. We call that hydroponics. If you don't want to do that, look for a friend that has a fish pond. The waste from the fish pond is urea. If the pedal, to do the calculation, 1 fish waste can feed 5 plants. So if I have a friend that has 1,000 fishes in a pond, the waste from that can feed 5,000 plants well. In that one, you don't need to dilute. So and somebody is thinking and saying, this guy was joking when he said urine from human being. I am sure you would have heard that one of the most nutritious urine for plants is urine of rabbits. If rabbit is giving urine, what is wrong with your urine? It can also perform the same function, but you must dilute it. If you do not dilute it, that urine will act as a herbicide and kill the plants. If you dilute, it acts as nutrients for the plant. If you don't want to do that, another option is get banana peel. After eating your banana, keep the peel, get eggshell. The peel of the banana, dry it, that's dehydrate it. Dehydrate the eggshell. 1 banana peel and 1 eggshell is enough for 5 liters of water. When you dehydrate, grind it into powder, mix a little vinegar, it will become soluble. You can also use that as your nutrient. If you don't want to, you see I'm giving you a lot of examples. You don't want to do that, what's the question? People are laughing.
Because of erratic power supply, how do I use air stones economically?
How do you, you don't need air stone to be on 24 hours. 1 hour every 5 to 6 hours is fine. So if I aerate so even if, when I say 1 hour every 6 hours, it does not mean, after 6 hours, like, 1 hour, no. It means in a day, 24 divided by 6 is 4. If I can aerate for 4 hours straight, that water is fine. So I'm not saying every 6 hours, check, 1 hour, 1 hour. No. Cumulatively, let it get to 4 hours, they are fine.
Most of them are not praying now. Someone asks you rain. Wow.
Yes, urine. Okay, let me go a bit scientific. Why early morning urine? Remember that you were told from experience that the urine you use for pregnancy test is
Morning.
she cannot do it. She can do. We have a talk after this class. How do you know she can do? Jubri, do you know? Now they said they use early morning urine. Now, why are they using early morning urine? Biologically, your excretory system goes to bed around 7-8 p.m. Now, what happens is, remember that in our kidney there is something they call the urinary tract. Thank you. Now, inside your urinary tract, you have the nerve. It doesn't cover the question I'm scanning to your head. We have those your nephrons, and your nephrons have what they call the proximal convoluted tubule, loop of Henle, and distal convoluted tubule. Now, we were taught that the function of the proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule is to reabsorb anything your body still needs, so that what goes out as waste is pure waste. However, because the system goes to bed at night, what happens is your body loses some of these beneficial nutrients. That is why when somebody is diabetic, it's the early morning urine you check. For pregnancy, early morning urine. Because whatever it is that is in excess in that person's body will be found in the urine. Also, whatever is deficient, the urine will say it. So, it is your early morning urine that is needed for growing plants. Let me put a caveat. It's not early morning urine after you have drank. That's alcoholic urine. We mean proper urine. Not early morning urine that you are sick. We mean urine that is healthy is what is needed for the plants. Any other question?
So I'm going from
I have a couple of cobra tomato seedlings. At what age can I plant them hydroponically? They are still on citrus.
Good question. At what age do you transplant hydroponically? How do I bring this thing back up? When you check your plants in the nursery, the plant in the nursery starts first with what we call false leaves. Your plant in the nursery will always start with what we call false leaves. False leaves are leaves that are not differentiated. So if you look at this plant, for example, you see that these were the first set of leaves that came out. These leaves do not look like the leaves on top. They don't have any differentiation. So you cannot transplant a plant with the false leaf. The plant will die. You'll notice that by default, the plant is going to shed off the false leaf on its own, because the false leaves do not become true leaves. Very important. When do you transplant? When you start having your true leaves. When you start having your true leaves, that is when you transplant. You don't transplant with false leaves. Okay, that is answered.
Will the house see scent well with urine in my leafy vegetables?
Yes, it will scent very well. Because what will happen is, remember we did not say use concentrated urine, no. Dilute your 1 liter urine inside 50 liters of water, which means you will not even smell the urine. But if for some weird reason you can smell your 1 liter of water inside 50 liters, your village people has gotten you.
And I want to growing from the notes, will its fruit be the same quality and same quantity with its parent seed plants?
Growing from
nodes.
Yes, if you are growing from nodes, that is what is called cloning. What you are simply doing is cloning. So whatever the parent plant will give you, that clone will give to you. They have 100% same characteristics. It's a clone. Can you use malaria urine? I said when you are sick, don't use the urine. Malaria called HIV.
Is the hair stones and clay pebbles serving the same functions?
No.
charcoal will take it first.
S.
But if the charcoal is saturated, it will not release the nutrients. That is why those people that don't know, if you are looking at it,
air stone and clay pebbles are not the same function. I think I explained that. Air stone is for air. Clay pebbles is for support. Any other question?
So can you please come again with the Excel and banana peel method?
Replay, we see it.
Does the urine has a note by color?
Does it have?
Does the urine has a note by color?
I don't understand the question. Anybody understands?
What if your body reawakens the next morning and absorb the nutrients in the urine before you felt
It does not happen. Once the urine has got into your bladder, that is why you are pressed to piss. Your body cannot reabsorb it. It is meant to reabsorb in the kidney, not in the bladder. But if your system can reabsorb in the bladder, come, we need you. Your deliverance will be special. So let's talk about final part of the nutrients so that we can end this already after 9. Another form is you can go for what we call inorganic salts.
Someone asked that, how can I dilute the rabbit urine to use as nutrients?
Same method with regular urine. It's same method. Now, you can go for inorganic salts. The advantage of inorganic salt is they are measurable. Inorganic salts. Now, there are 3 forms of inorganic salts that you can buy. The first one is what we call the single one, or better put, the compound, which means you just buy one fertilizer that contains everything, gogo miche. That one is good for amateur growers because you don't know how to mix, so you just take one, you pour, whether it is tomatoes or pepper, onions or chili or whatever you are growing, vegetable, one nutrient for everything. It is fine as an amateur grower. That is not a nutrient for commercial growers. The second type is what we call the A and B. A and B is predetermined by the sellers of A and B. As an example, I got this from BIC Farm, thanks to Pastor Labor, so you can also get from them. So you will notice, if I can come close, you will notice that it is labeled A and B. It is labeled A and B. Now, what is the meaning of A and B? The makers of A and B will tell you what their A and B is. In this case, they wrote here, their A is calcium nitrate, monoammonium phosphate. That is their A. Their B is magnesium sulfate, copper sulfate, zinc sulfate, manganese sulfate, boric acid, ammonium molybdenate, magnesium nitrate, iron chelate, potassium nitrate. Don't worry if you didn't do chemistry, just pretend I was speaking in tongues. That is what this contains, meaning you don't need to worry about how to mix it. They have already mixed it for you. Now, 2, when you buy it, they will tell you how to mix. Take for instance, this is written that take 2.5 ml, meaning I will take all of this, dilute it inside water. After diluting inside water, I will take 2.5 ml. 2.5 ml is the equivalent of your syringe, like half of your syringe, and put it inside 1 liter of water. 2.5 ml inside 1 liter of water. This bucket here is about 5 liters. Is it 5 liters? About 5 liters. For those that don't know what 1 liter is, that's big ever bottle. So imagine the small thing you are putting inside big ever bottle. It means if I take my full syringe that is 5 ml, I will take 2 full syringes and they have to put inside bucket. So imagine how long I will continue to use this before it will finish. And if I put my tomatoes in this bucket, that plant will be there for at least 3-4 weeks before this water will finish. Meaning, I can use this nutrient to grow these tomatoes to full maturity and I am not gone. This is 1 ml to 1 liter. This is 2.5 ml to 1 liter. That is why you can see this is bigger than this. So they have measured it so that when this is finishing, this should finish. Not we say, oh, dear, no, two must finish at the same time. In some cases, their A and B represents macronutrients, micronutrient. That is what this is. This is macro, this is micro. In some cases, A is for vegetative, B is for fruiting. Again, whomever you are buying A and B from, we tell you what it contains and how to use it. So you don't have to worry about, how do I use this thing? It will be written. The third option of nutrient is the single nutrient that is meant for professionals. You will buy calcium nitrate separate, potassium separate, magnesium separate, micronutrient, in short, micronutrient if you are a professional, zinc separate, iron separate. You now come on your own and you are mixing everything. That is meant for commercial growers. Because at times all that you need is iron. All that times you need is Fertilion C. So you can bring in these things one after the other. As a novice grower, my advice is either do compound or do A and B. Any question? We have come to the end.
Please, sir, how many liters of ml of water will dissolve the whole power?
So I am not telling you because I want you to go and buy it yourself and read. The reason is because you may not be buying from BIC. Maybe you went to buy from Gardner Callaway or from Seed Fort. You will not say, Farmer Samson said we should dilute in 2 liters. Meanwhile, that one's instruction is different. They will all tell you how to dilute.
What can I use to improvise if I don't have stones?
We've said this now. Go and buy Dunlop slippers. It will work. Use foam. It will work. Look for one child that misbehaved to hold the plant till maturity. It will work.
What's the quantity of water is required to dilute the whole house?
I've answered. The amount of water needed is written for each. I don't want to give out a figure and you memorize the figure. You buy nutrients from a different source or even buy from the same source, but you bought a different pack. Now you now think that from Samson said use 1 liter. You now say, oh,
so we need to dilute the fish pond wastewater?
no, fish pond water is not diluted. It is good to use as it is. As a matter of fact, if you have a friend that owns a fish pond, what you can do is get a styrofoam like this. Boreholes. Once you borehole, you can use these net cups. Put inside the styrofoam. Put your plants. Put the styrofoam like that on top of the fish pond. You don't need any nutrients. Your plants will do very well if they are leafy vegetables. They will grow perfectly. Because now what is going to happen is, once you put this on top of your friend's fish pond, you will realize that, your friend will realize that their water does not get dirty as fast as it used to. Because the plants are using up the nutrient that's supposed to get the water dirty. So they just need to be refilling the water rather than discarding the water. And when you do that, you are not doing aquaponics, not hydroponics. Because you are not combining fish farming with plant growing.
Can I get a normal NPK?
Won't the fish eat the root of the plant? Normally, no. But if you starve them,
Can I get a normal NPK or a water-soluble NPK and use it?
the NPK you must use must be water soluble. If it is not water soluble, the plant cannot use it. Reason, remember that the NPK you use in soil is not soluble in water. But the reason we are able to use it is because soil has some microorganisms that are able to degrade it over time. In the case of water, that is not present. So if you don't use what is soluble, the nutrient will not be available for the plants.
This was after diluting the urine. What quantity do I add into the water and how often do I add it?
You too, didn't shock you. It is the container you are using. So you have diluted the urine. Once you have diluted, Use the water that you have diluted like that. That is your nutrients.
I say if the water is lost during evaporation and is required to add water to the bucket, will I have to we have to nutrients?
No, you don't need to add, just add water. You will know. See, this is the good thing with plants. Once the plant feels like it is lacking nutrients, the color of the plant will start changing. Add nutrients.
Thank you so much for this class. What's your Facebook handle, sir, please?
Where's the person joining me from?
Instagram.
Search my name on Facebook, it's the same name.
Does BIC Farm do nationwide delivery of net crop, nutrients?
Yes, anywhere, heaven, anywhere. I trust Pastor David, they will deliver to you.
Can foliar fertilizers be used?
Good question. Can foliar fertilizer be used? One penny foliar. Foliar for leaves. Foliar. Can you use it? Yes. Will you give you the desired result? No. But if you are doing leafy vegetables, foliar fertilizers are fine. But fruiting, it is not enough. The other question.
I think somebody is asking what you can use when you don't have a pump to
If you don't have an air pump to aerate, don't use a deep container. Remember, the reason we are using air pump here is because the container is deep. Because the container is deep and it is fully covered, there is no way for the air to exchange. So there is this container that looks like this that is flat. The thing usually call it happy mommy. Happy family that are usually flat and use it. You don't need air pump.
And this one said, if I have big styrofoam and cup plants, can I plant different vegetables together?
Yes, you can plant different vegetables together. Yes, you can.
If I have my plant.
Now, sorry, let me also say this. If you don't have access to net cup, go and buy disposable cup. Those small disposable cup. Put holes at the bottom. The important thing is the water can get to the plant. It will still do well. Yeah.
If I have my plants in the pond, how do I treat disease outbreak?
Disease outbreak where? Is it in the fish
If I
pond?
have my plants in the pond, how do I treat disease outbreak?
In where? Is it for the fish or for the plant? If it is for the plant and there is disease outbreak, you can't do anything. Reason is anything you apply can kill your fishes. But if it is disease outbreak for the fish, you can treat the fish, the plant will be fine.
Please, are these nutrients peculiar to this system of growing, or can the nutrients be used for other planting systems using soil?
Now, can you use this nutrient for soil? Yes. Is it economical for soil? No. Because it will seep away very fast. The reason why this is good for soilless farming is you are retaining the nutrients in a container so it doesn't seep away.
How can we send you updates or progress of our plants?
Just tag me online, I will see it, and if you have issues, as long as you are tagging me online, I will reply to the questions.
When is the next class?
Only God knows, even me, I don't know.
How can we test to check your nutrient availability to know it's suitable for your crop?
You are a small, slow, subsistence farmer. When the plant start looking like it's not doing well, you are not doing well. But generally speaking, apply nutrient every week.
Can we get a link to this class?
No, I will not delete the class.
Sir, can we give nutrients to plants with their first leaf, seed leaf?
With their first leaf. If you give nutrients to plants with first leaf, what will you use for photosynthesis? It's waste of nutrients.
How do I get water into the PVC pipes?
Pray. You get tap and pour water in now. Just open tap, create any tap or use your hand or something, bring water in.
And this work for fish pond that waters are changed daily.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. With the styrofoam on top of the water, you don't need to, realize that the water will not get dirty as fast.
Is water like urine advisable to use for? Is water like urine advisable to use for veggies? Or what color is best to reason with for use?
Now let the person understand the question.
plastic trunk system of growing?
Simple. So if you look at this, what we did initially in our own case, we created a small place for tap to enter this small hole. But if you don't want to use that, you can use your bucket. So let's say this is my bucket of water. Not even let's say this is my bucket of water. Put a funnel. Pour. The another side is it covered? No. But get my funnel. Put. I've mixed my nutrient here. Pour it in. Note, you must mix your nutrient properly to be diluted before you pour, and you are done.
Can you still use the remains of the diluted urine after some time? If yes, how long?
As long as it is not bringing, remember that because of, depending on how you store it, if there is no aeration, you will start seeing algae. Once you start seeing algae, there is no more oxygen, you can't use it.
Do we top up the water daily?
No. You top up when you notice the root of the plant is no more touch. I think I said it before, it's no more touching the water.
So can we use electrical trunking pipes for planting?
What's electrical trunking pipe?
That's a pipe that you use for
Okay.
Yes, if it is big enough, why not? What determines the size of the pipe is where will the root enter. See, you can decide not to even put this like this. This place is too low. You can decide to stand this horizontally and fill it with water and put all your plants in between. It will still grow.
You said you can use urea as nutrients in leafy vegetables. What about fruity vegetables, aside using inorganic soil?
Now, outside, with fruity vegetables, when the plant starts fruiting, they need more potassium and less nitrogen. That is the issue. And your organic sources by default has more of ammonia, not potassium. So you need to find a way to get potassium. Banana peel has potassium.
Where can we get styrofoam? And also,
Buy television or look for a person that bought TV. They use styrofoam to hold it. If not, go to Ikorodu. What's the name of that place in Ikorodu where they sell styrofoam in bulk? Can't remember. There's a place in Ikorodu.
Sir, can I plant celery, bok choy, coriander, and parsley together?
Yes, you can.
Also, must we use greenhouse due to diseases?
Good question. That's the first normal question. Now, let's talk this way we round up. Let's talk about greenhouse. Greenhouse. So let's first start with definition of.
I think this question kind of links together. I say, can I plant my vegetables in an open space, regardless of the amount of rainfall or sunshine? Will it have effect on the plants?
So that's where I'm going, that greenhouse. One of the biggest scam I've seen in Nigeria has been greenhouse. I'm a greenhouse farmer, so I have the right to call it scam when I see people doing it as scam. What is the function of a greenhouse? Let's forget greenhouse. Let's come to us as individuals. What is the function of a house? A house, in another word we call a house, is a shelter. A shelter basically means that it is protecting you from the biotic and abiotic factors around. In simple terms, a house is meant to provide shelter for you or by protecting you from the environment. Right now, I'm in a class. Rain can be falling, I am fine. Why? The house is protecting me from the rain. The cold can be too much, I am fine. The house is protecting me from the too much cold. Insects can be flying, I am fine. The house is protecting me from that. Hope that makes sense. What's that? First, I want us to understand that. Now, when we say greenhouse, when we say anything housing for plants, what we want to do is have control over the biotic factors that can affect plants and the abiotic factors that can affect plants. Biotic factors are living things that can impact the plant I want to grow. Abiotic factors are non-living things that can affect the plant I want to grow. Example of abiotic, we have rain, sun, temperature, humidity, etc. If you like, think etc is one of them.
So this person says, thanks so much for this class. network caused break in transmission at many points. Can this lecture be put into a CD or any form so we can buy?
Good question. I am not putting it on CD for you to buy. BIC has it on CD. Meeting to buy. Gartner Callaway have it on CD. Meet them to buy. I am not in the ministry of selling CD. We are not yet done. Now, based on that, it means that when I have when I'm thinking of a greenhouse, what I should be asking myself is, what do I want to control? Do I want to control biotic or abiotic? Very important, because a lot of people have built greenhouses without understanding the function of the greenhouse. Having said this, in a typical house, there is a roof, there is a wall, there is the floor. In a typical house, yes, there will be door and all of those things. But let's focus on these three critical things: roof, wall, floor. Now, if I want to grow, so maybe some of us are not farmers, I am in Ogun State. Can tomatoes do well naturally in Ogun State? Yes. Now, if I want to grow tomatoes in Ogun State, what are the issues that my tomatoes are likely to have? You will agree with me that I am not going to have weather-related issues. No. The issue my tomatoes is likely to suffer from are pests and diseases. So, what I need to control in that case are biotic factors, not abiotic. So, which means when I want to set up that structure, I am not trying to control the weather. I am trying to control insects from coming in, rodents from coming in. So, my roof will be net, my side covering will be net. With that, I have set up a net house that will give me my perfect results. Now, what will determine the kind of net that I use, because when we say net have holes. What will determine the kind of net that I use is dependent on the size of the insect that can attack my plants. So, I will need to know what kind of insects are predominant in Ogun. What is the smallest size of the insect? The net I must choose must be smaller than the smallest insect, what we call mesh net. So you hear, oh, what is the size of the mesh net? What is the microns? The assumption is you should know the insect you want to protect from, or you want to stop from entering your house before choosing a net. Hope that makes sense. Now, on the flip side, let's say I want to do cucumber in Ogun State. Cucumber does not like water. Now, if I plant cucumber in Ogun State, it will do well. The issue is during rainy season, the excess water will affect the plant. So I need a screen house where I cover the top with either a UV nylon or a solarine. But I will still cover the sides with nets. That way, the excess water does not affect my plant. But I can still take advantage of the temperature, the humidity, and other things in the environment. Finally, what if I want to grow strawberry in Ogun State? Oh, strawberry requires a cold environment. Ogun State is not cold. Now I need a greenhouse where I can regulate the temperature to what the plant needs to survive where I am. I hope that makes sense. So, what do I need to do for my hydroponics? The question is, what does your plant need? Does your plant need a net house, a screen house, or a greenhouse, or it does not even need any of those houses? That is what determines whether you need it or not. So that you do not go and start building expensive structure that the plant does not need. Because I see a lot of people build structures just because they have the money and they are waiting for the plant to pay back what they did not ask for. Thank you for joining. I'm sure no more questions. Mr. Eva has finished. Any other question?
Can we use any other color of the rain gutter apart from white?
Yes, this is what I saw. If it is black you have, use. Any color is fine.
Do you do consultant for amateur planting for commercial purpose?
For amateur planting, yes. Why not? We'll consult for you.
Sir, what do I need
To make the kingdom of God.
What do I need to monitor aside pH? What do I need to monitor aside?
That sounds like that's a commercial grower's work. If you are a commercial grower, you monitor pH, you monitor EC, you monitor TDS. But that is a commercial grower. You monitor temperature, humidity in the environment, but that's for a commercial grower.
So this person says crops planted in the soil suffer sometimes because of excessive rainfall. How then do they survive when steady in water?
How do they survive when they are steady in water? Because the water is aerated, so they are fine. When you have excessive rainfall inside the ground is no longer aerated. It has lost that aeration. That is why they drown.